The news reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. Princess Kira of the mighty Zephyrian Empire had been taken. The message was simple and brutal. The Korth raiders had captured the heir to the most powerful throne in known space. Emperor Nala sat in her crystal palace, staring at the holographic message that played over and over. Her daughter's face appeared scared but alive. Behind Kira stood a massive Korth warrior, his gray skin marked with ritual scars. His voice was rough and demanding. "We have your princess. Bring us 50 battlecruisers and the codes to your weapon systems. You have 7 days or she dies." The Zephyrian Empire had ruled for 3,000 years. Their ships could destroy planets. Their soldiers carried weapons that could melt through solid rock. Their shields could stop the blast from a dying star. But now, faced with losing her only child, the Empress felt powerless. General Varric stood beside the throne. His blue skin gleamed under the crystal lights. Like all Zephyrians, he was tall and elegant. His uniform was made from materials that could stop any known weapon. "My Empress, we have located their base. It is an asteroid fortress in the dead zone. Our ships are ready to attack." Empress Nala nodded slowly. "Begin the assault. Bring my daughter home." The first attack came at dawn. 20 Zephyrian battlecruisers emerged from hyperspace around the asteroid, their weapons charged with enough power to level a city. The asteroid fortress looked small and weak compared to the mighty fleet. "Fire," commanded Admiral Zeth from the flagship. Beams of pure energy struck the asteroid. The rocks glowed red-hot. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. For 10 minutes, the Zephyrian fleet poured destruction onto the fortress. But when the smoke cleared, the asteroid still stood. Ancient Korth shields, stolen from a dozen different races, protected their base. The attack had failed. The second attempt came 2 days later. This time, the Zephyrians sent their best warriors. Soldiers in power armor landed on the asteroid surface. They carried plasma rifles and force blades. Each warrior was trained from birth to fight. The Korth were waiting. These raiders had survived in the dead zone by being clever and brutal. They knew every tunnel in their fortress. Traps waited around every corner. The Zephyrian soldiers found themselves fighting in narrow passages where their advanced weapons meant nothing. Of the 50 soldiers who landed, only 12 returned. Princess Kira remained a prisoner. On the third day, General Varric tried a different approach. He sent spies and assassins. The best stealth operatives in the Empire slipped through space in invisible ships. They landed on the asteroid without being detected, but the Korth had lived as raiders for centuries. They knew how to watch for enemies. Motion sensors and heat detectors covered every approach to their base. The spies were caught within hours. Emperor Nala received their final transmissions, screams and static, then silence. By the 5th day, panic spread through the Crystal Palace. The most powerful military in the galaxy could not rescue one young woman. Empress Nala had not slept since the capture. Her advisors whispered about paying the ransom, but everyone knew the Korth would never honor their word. That evening, an unexpected visitor arrived at the palace. Ambassador Chen from Earth requested an urgent meeting. The human diplomat was escorted to the throne room, his simple clothes looking plain among the crystal and gold. "Your Majesty," Ambassador Chen said with a bow, "Earth offers assistance in rescuing Princess Kira." General Varric laughed. "Human, your people still use chemical rockets. What could you possibly do that we cannot?" Ambassador Chen remained calm. "We have a volunteer, Sergeant Tom Blake. He served in our special forces for 15 years. He has experience in hostage rescue." "One human soldier?" The general's laughter grew louder. "We sent 50 of our best warriors. They failed." Empress Nala raised her hand for silence. Something in the human's eyes caught her attention. "Tell me about this soldier." "Tom Blake has completed over 100 rescue missions. He specializes in impossible situations. He volunteers for operations others consider suicide runs." The Empress studied the human ambassador. Her people were tall and graceful, with blue skin and large dark eyes. Humans looked small and weak in comparison, but there was something about their determination that impressed her. "Why would this human risk his life for my daughter?" Ambassador Chen smiled sadly. "Because that is what humans do, Your Majesty. We help those who need help." In the human section of the space station orbiting the Zephyrian capital, Tom Blake prepared for the mission. He was 40 years old with gray hair and scars from old battles. His equipment was simple compared to Zephyrian technology. No energy weapons or power armor. just human military gear that had proven itself in 1,000 conflicts. Tom studied every piece of information about the Korth fortress. He watched recordings of the failed attacks. He examined the thermal scans and energy readings. While the Zephyrians had focused on overwhelming force, Tom looked for weaknesses. The Korth are scavengers, he explained to his human support team. They steal technology from different races and try to make it work together. That creates gaps in their defenses. Lieutenant Sarah Wang, his communications officer, frowned at the data. Tom, their shields stopped a full fleet bombardment. How can one person get through? Tom pointed to the energy readings from the failed attacks. Look at these power fluctuations. Every 37 minutes, the shields drop for exactly 12 seconds. They have to cycle the generators to prevent overheating. 12 seconds is not enough time to get through. It is if you are already in position. Tom's finger traced a path on the holographic display. The asteroid has natural caves. Some are too small for Korth warriors, but perfect for a human. Captain Mike Torres, the team's pilot, studied the approach routes. The sensor grid will detect any ship within 1,000 kilometers. Then I will not use a ship. Tom pulled up specifications for an EVA suit. Extravehicular activity gear. I will approach on foot through space. His team stared at him. Tom, that is insane. The distance is too far. You would run out of air. Not if I use a cold approach. Minimal life support. Drift most of the way on momentum. Tom's voice was calm and certain. The Korth expect ships and energy signatures. They will not notice one human in a stealth suit floating through space. Lieutenant Wang checked her calculations. Even if you reach the asteroid, how will you find the princess? The fortress is huge. Tom had already thought of this. The Korth are raiders, not builders. They will keep their most valuable prisoner in the most secure location. That will be the center of the fortress, surrounded by their command structure. And if you are wrong, then I adapt and overcome. That is what humans do. The next morning, Tom Blake began his approach. His EVA suit was painted matte black to avoid reflecting light. All electronics ran on minimal power. He carried basic human weapons, a knife, a pistol with silencer, and small explosive charges. The journey through space took 14 hours. Tom drifted through the vacuum, making tiny course corrections with his suit thrusters. He passed within meters of Korth patrol ships without being detected. The raiders were looking for large signatures, not a single human in a stealth suit. As Tom approached the asteroid, he could see the massive fortress built into the rock. Towers and weapon platforms covered the surface. Shield generators hummed with stolen energy. It looked impossible to breach, but Tom had studied the thermal scans carefully. He located the cave entrance he had identified from the reconnaissance data. It was a natural fissure in the asteroid's surface, too narrow for Korth warriors, but just wide enough for a human. Tom landed softly on the asteroid surface. The gravity was weak, barely enough to keep him attached to the rock. He made his way to the cave entrance and squeezed inside. His suit's light showed a tunnel that wound deep into the asteroid. For 2 hours, Tom crawled through the narrow passage. Several times he had to remove his backpack and push it ahead of him to fit through tight spaces. The tunnel eventually opened into a larger cavern filled with mining equipment. Tom had reached the abandoned sections of the fortress. The Korth had carved their base from old mining tunnels. They used the outer areas for storage and kept the inner sections for living space. Tom consulted his mental map and headed toward the center of the complex. Moving through the fortress required all of Tom's training. He avoided the main corridors where Korth guards patrolled. Instead, he used maintenance shafts and abandoned tunnels. His human size was an advantage here. Spaces that were too small for the large Korth warriors were perfect highways for Tom. He encountered his first guard while crossing a storage area. The Korth warrior was massive, nearly 3 meters tall with gray skin and ritual scars. He carried an energy rifle that could punch through armor plating. Tom waited in the shadows until the guard turned away. Then he moved with silent precision, a hand over the Korth's mouth, a knife between the ribs. The warrior fell without making a sound. Tom dragged the body into a storage closet and continued toward the center of the fortress. He passed through areas filled with stolen technology. Zephyrian computers, Altarian weapons, Centauri navigation systems, all connected with primitive Korth wiring that created the vulnerabilities Tom planned to exploit. 2 hours later, Tom reached the command section. Through a ventilation grate, he could see the main control room. Korth warriors operated stolen equipment while their leader, a scarred giant named Grex, watched the approaches to the fortress. Tom counted 12 guards in the control room. Too many for a direct assault, but he noticed something important. All the power conduits ran through a junction box near his position. If he could overload the system, it would create enough chaos to reach the princess. Tom planted his explosive charges on the main power coupling. The small devices were designed to overload electrical systems rather than cause massive destruction. When they detonated, every piece of stolen technology in the fortress would shut down at once. The princess was being held in a cell 3 levels below the control room. Tom had identified her location by following the guard rotations and monitoring the communication chatter. The Korth were not subtle about their security arrangements. Tom set the timer on his charges for 10 minutes. That would give him enough time to reach Princess Kira before the power failed. He made his way through the maintenance shafts toward the detention level. Princess Kira sat in her cell trying to stay calm. She was 18 years old, with the blue skin and dark eyes of her people. Her royal robes were torn and dirty, but her spirit remained unbroken. She had counted the days of her captivity and knew the deadline was approaching. The sound of footsteps in the corridor made her look up. A Korth guard was approaching with another prisoner, but as the figure came closer, Kira realized this was not a Korth warrior. The person was too small, moving too quietly. Tom reached the detention level just as his charges detonated. The explosion sent power surges through every system in the fortress. Lights flickered and died. Gravity generators failed. Emergency alarms began screaming. In the darkness and confusion, Tom approached Princess Kira's cell. The electronic lock had failed with the power surge. He forced the door open and stepped inside. Princess Kira? She stared at the strange figure in the EVA suit. Who are you? Sergeant Tom Blake, Earth Special Forces. I am here to take you home. The princess could hardly believe it. You are human? But how did you get past the guards? I will explain later. Right now we need to move. Tom led Princess Kira through the dark corridors. The fortress was in chaos. Korth warriors stumbled through the darkness trying to restore power. Their stolen technology had failed completely, leaving them helpless. Tom had planned for this moment. He knew the fortress layout by memory. Even in total darkness, he could navigate to the escape route he had prepared. They moved through maintenance shafts and abandoned tunnels while the Korth searched the main corridors. The journey to the surface took an hour. Tom carried extra air supplies for the princess, along with a second EVA suit sized for Zephyrian physiology. They reached his hidden cache near the cave entrance without encountering any guards. Put this on, Tom said, handing Kira the EVA suit. We are leaving through space. Princess Kira had never worn such primitive equipment, but she trusted the human who had rescued her. The suit was bulky and uncomfortable compared to Zephyrian technology, but it would keep her alive in the vacuum. They emerged from the cave onto the asteroid surface. In the distance, they could see Korth warriors trying to restore power to their weapon systems. Without their stolen technology, the raiders were just primitives with crude tools. Tom activated a beacon hidden in his equipment. Within minutes, a human transport ship emerged from hyperspace. The vessel was small and plain compared to Zephyrian cruisers, but it had been waiting in the asteroid field for Tom's signal. Transport inbound, came Captain Torres's voice over the radio, preparing for pickup. As they waited for rescue, Princess Kira looked at the human soldier who had saved her life. Why did you do this? Your people barely know mine. Tom checked the approaching transport ship, because it was the right thing to do. Humans do not abandon people who need help. The transport ship landed softly on the asteroid surface. Tom and Princess Kira climbed aboard as Korth warriors finally began to emerge from their damaged fortress. But it was too late. The rescue was complete. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying them back to the Zephyrian capital, Princess Kira realized that everything she had believed about humans was wrong. They were not primitive or weak. They possessed something her advanced civilization had forgotten: the courage to risk everything for others. The impossible rescue was complete. One human soldier had succeeded where the mighty Zephyrian military had failed. But the real impact of Tom Blake's mission was yet to be felt. The human transport ship emerged from hyperspace above the Zephyrian homeworld. Captain Torres guided the small vessel toward the crystal spires of the capital city. Below them, the planet gleamed like a blue jewel. its cities built from living crystal that grew in impossible formations. Zephyrian control. This is Earth Transport 7 requesting permission to land. Torres spoke into his communication device. The response came immediately. Earth Transport 7, you are cleared for direct approach to the Royal Palace. Escort ships are moving to guide you in. Within moments, 12 Zephyrian cruisers appeared around the human ship. But these were not threats. They flew in formation as an honor guard, their crystalline hulls reflecting the light of the system's twin suns. Princess Kira sat in the passenger compartment, still wearing the human EVA suit. She had refused to change into the royal robes that Captain Torres had brought for her. The simple human equipment had saved her life, and she wanted her people to see it. Tom Blake sat across from her, cleaning his equipment with quiet efficiency. His mission gear was worn and battle-tested, a stark contrast to the advanced technology surrounding them. But Princess Kira now understood that sometimes the simplest tools in the right hands could accomplish miracles. Sergeant Blake, she said quietly, what will you do after we land? Tom looked up from his equipment check. Request transport back to Earth, Your Highness. My mission is complete. You could stay. My mother will offer you anything you want. Titles, wealth, land on any world in our empire. Tom shook his head. I appreciate the offer, but I have a job to do back home. Other people might need help. Princess Kira studied the human soldier. In her 18 years, she had met generals, admirals, and nobles from across the galaxy. All of them sought power, status, or wealth. But this human had risked his life for her and wanted nothing in return. Your people are remarkable, she said. We do what needs doing. Tom replied simply. The transport ship landed on the crystal platform outside the royal palace. Through the windows, they could see thousands of Zephyrians gathered in the courtyard. News of the princess's rescue had spread across the planet within hours. Empress Nala stood at the base of the landing platform, surrounded by her royal guard and government officials. She had not slept since receiving word that her daughter was safe. The most powerful woman in the galaxy looked small and fragile as she waited for her child to emerge from the human ship. The transport's doors opened. Princess Kira stepped out first, still wearing the bulky human EVA suit. A gasp went through the crowd. Their elegant princess looked nothing like the graceful royal they remembered. But she was alive. Behind her came Tom Blake. He looked even smaller next to the tall Zephyrians, his simple military uniform plain among their flowing robes and crystal jewelry. But something in his bearing commanded respect. Princess Kira ran across the platform toward her mother. The crowd watched in amazement as their dignified princess abandoned all royal protocol and threw herself into Empress Nala's arms. Mother, Kira said, tears streaming down her blue face. Empress Nala held her daughter tightly, not caring that the rough human suit scratched against her delicate robes. My child. My precious child. I thought I had lost you forever. The royal communications system was broadcasting the reunion across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as the Zephyrian princess spoke the words that would echo through history. Yes, Mom, I am safe thanks to him, Kira said, looking back at Tom Blake. The human soldier saved me when no one else could. Those simple words, spoken from a daughter's heart to her mother, carried more impact than any formal diplomatic statement. Across the galaxy, representatives from dozens of species heard them and began to reconsider everything they thought they knew about humanity. Empress Nala approached Tom Blake. The human soldier stood at attention, his posture respectful but not submissive. Around them, the crowd fell silent. Sergeant Blake, the Empress said, her voice carrying across the courtyard, you have given me back the most precious thing in my life. How can the Zephyrian Empire ever repay such a debt? Tom's response surprised everyone. No payment is necessary, Your Majesty. I was glad to help. General Varric stepped forward. The same officer who had laughed at humanity's offer of assistance now looked at Tom with something approaching awe. Sergeant, you accomplished what our best warriors could not. Please tell us how you succeeded where we failed. Tom considered his words carefully. He did not want to embarrass the Zephyrian military, but the truth needed to be spoken. Your warriors are brave and skilled, General, but you fought the battle the way you always fight, with overwhelming force and advanced technology. The Korth expected that. They were ready for it. And humans fight differently? General Varric asked. We adapt. We look for weaknesses others miss. We use whatever tools are available, not just the best ones. Tom gestured toward his simple equipment. Sometimes a knife works better than an energy weapon. Sometimes crawling through a tunnel accomplishes more than a frontal assault. Princess Kira spoke up. He moved through their fortress like a shadow, Mother. The Korth never knew he was there until it was too late. Admiral Zeth, who had commanded the failed fleet attack, studied Tom with professional interest. Your ship carries no advanced weapons. No shield strong enough to stop our lightest patrol craft. How did you penetrate our blockade? I did not use a ship, Admiral. I approached through space in an EVA suit. The crowd murmured in amazement. The idea of crossing space in such primitive equipment seemed impossible to beings accustomed to advanced technology. You drifted through vacuum for 14 hours, Admiral Zeth said, checking his tactical reports. Our sensors detected no trace of your approach. Human equipment is simple but reliable. Sometimes that is an advantage. Ambassador Chen had been watching the reunion from the diplomatic section. Now he stepped forward to address the crowd. People of Zephyria, this rescue demonstrates the friendship between our species. Earth stands ready to assist our allies in times of need. But Empress Nala raised her hand. Ambassador Chen, your people have already proven their worth. I think it is time the galaxy learned what we have discovered today. The Empress activated the holographic communication system. Her image appeared on screens across hundreds of worlds. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy listened as she spoke. Today, a single human soldier accomplished what our mighty fleet could not. Sergeant Tom Blake rescued my daughter through courage, cleverness, and determination. He asked for no reward. He wanted only to help someone in need. The impact of her words rippled across space. In the Altarian council chambers, representatives who had dismissed humanity as primitive began urgent discussions about diplomatic contact. On Centauri Prime, military leaders reviewed human combat records with new interest. The Valorian ambassador, whose people prided themselves on military prowess, approached Tom with obvious respect. Sergeant Blake, the Valorian Republic would be honored to exchange tactical knowledge with your military. Similar offers came from a dozen other species. Trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, cultural exchanges. Humanity went from being an ignored backwater species to the center of galactic attention in a single day. But Tom remained focused on his mission's completion. Your Majesty, if I could arrange transport back to Earth, I would be grateful. Empress Nala smiled. Of course, Sergeant. But first there is something I must do. She gestured and a crystal podium rose from the palace floor. The holographic system amplified her voice across the galaxy. Let it be known throughout the galaxy that Sergeant Tom Blake of Earth is hereby granted the Star of Valor, the highest honor the Zephyrian Empire can bestow. He is welcomed on any Zephyrian world as a friend and protector. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Tom looked uncomfortable with the attention. He had not expected ceremonies or recognition. Princess Kira approached him with the crystal medal. Please accept this, Sergeant. Not for yourself, but for your people. Let the galaxy know that humans are worthy of respect. Tom understood the deeper meaning. This was not just about rewarding him. It was about establishing humanity's place among the galactic community. He accepted the medal with a formal bow. I accept this honor on behalf of all humans, Your Highness. The ceremony continued for another hour. Representatives from across the galaxy formally welcomed humanity into various alliances and treaties. What had begun as a rescue mission had become a diplomatic revolution, but the most important moment came when the formal ceremonies ended. Empress Nala invited Tom to a private dinner with her family. In the crystal dining hall, away from cameras and crowds, they could speak freely. Tell me about Earth, Princess Kira asked as they shared a meal of exotic Zephyrian fruits and vegetables. What is your world like? Tom described his home planet with simple words: the blue oceans and green continents, cities that grew from the ground up rather than being grown from crystal, people who worked with their hands and solved problems through trial and error. It sounds primitive compared to our worlds, General Varric said, but his tone was respectful now, not mocking. We make do with what we have, Tom replied. That teaches us to be creative. Is that why you risked your life for someone you had never met? Empress Nala asked. Tom considered the question. In human culture, we have a saying, no one left behind. It means we do not abandon people who need help. Princess Kira needed help. That made it simple. Simple, Princess Kira repeated. You call risking your life in an impossible mission simple. The mission was necessary. That made the risk acceptable. The conversation continued late into the night. Tom told them about human history, about wars fought with primitive weapons but won through determination and sacrifice. He described scientific discoveries made not through advanced computers, but through curiosity and persistence. In return, the Zephyrians shared their own stories. Their empire built through diplomacy and technology, their peaceful expansion across the galaxy, their struggles with raiders and pirates who threatened their trade routes. Perhaps our peoples can learn from each other, Empress Nala suggested. Your creativity and our technology, your determination and our resources. Earth would welcome such friendship, Tom replied. The next morning, Tom prepared to return home. A Zephyrian cruiser had been assigned to carry him back to Earth, a journey that would take 3 days through hyperspace. Princess Kira came to see him off. She had changed back into her royal robes, but she still wore the simple bracelet from the human EVA suit as a reminder of her rescue. Will I see you again, Sergeant Blake? Perhaps, Your Highness. The galaxy has become a smaller place today. Promise me something, she said. When other humans join the galactic community, tell them that they carry our respect with them. You have shown us that wisdom and courage matter more than weapons and technology. Tom boarded the Zephyrian cruiser as crowds gathered to see him off. The ship's captain, a young officer named Tren, greeted him with obvious admiration. Sergeant Blake, it is an honor to transport you home. My crew has studied your mission records. Your tactics will be taught in our military academies. As the ship lifted off from the crystal spires of the Zephyrian capital, Tom looked down at the planet that had become humanity's gateway to the galaxy. In 3 days, he would be back on Earth, filing his mission report and preparing for the next assignment. But he knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They had allies now, friends who respected their unique abilities and valued their contributions. The rescue of Princess Kira had accomplished far more than saving one life. It had proven that humans belonged among the stars, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals who brought their own gifts to the galactic community. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, beginning the journey home, Tom reflected on the princess's words. Yes, courage and wisdom did matter more than weapons and technology. And sometimes the simplest act of helping someone in need could change the course of history. The human soldier closed his eyes and rested. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new people who needed help. And humanity would be ready to answer the call, just as they always had. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate a species willing to risk everything for others. The humans were coming, and they brought with them the greatest weapon of all, the determination to do what was right, no matter the cost. In the royal palace on Zephyria, Empress Nala held her daughter close and smiled. The human had given her back her child, but the gift went far beyond that single rescue. He had shown them all what it meant to be truly brave. And across the galaxy, in council chambers and military headquarters, in universities and spaceports, beings who had never heard of Earth began to speak of humans with respect and wonder. The rescue was complete. But the real story was just beginning.